We don't just do swords on this channel. Let's take a look at this really cool Damascus Kukri by Devil's Edge. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mike, and of course this is Mathematics Swords, but we just don't look at swords here. I'm mostly interested in historic arms and armor and bladed weapons and things of that nature. So today I have the Damascus Bladed Kukri by Devil's Edge. Now if you guys don't know, Devil's Edge is the exclusive brand of Cult of Athena. So I'm going to put a link down in the description below, as I always do, to Cult of Athena's website, so you can see where to get this Kukri if you're interested, and also to look at other offerings that Cult of Athena has. They have a ton of stuff. I think they're one of the largest distributors and retailers of arms and armor. So yeah, check them out. I'm sure you guys all know about them. But anyway, Devil's Edge is their exclusive brand. They're marketed as budget range options for arms and armor. So they do have a bunch of swords. They do have a bunch of different things from different historical time periods. And this, of course, is the Kukri. Now, it does come with a leather scabbard. We're going to talk about the scabbard in a minute, but I'm just going to... It's not a scabbard, I'm sorry. It's a sheath. I'm going to get that right. I'm so used to talking about sword scabbards. We're going to go ahead and get this off and, yeah, talk about the business end of this thing, which is, of course, the blade. Now, this retails for about $60 US, so it's definitely a budget range Kukri. However, Kukris are usually not too expensive. There are other competition out there, something like from Windlass, and there are many different manufacturers from Nepal that are making Kukris. Of course, the Kukri is a Nepalese weapon / tool. They do double as both a functional tool, as a chopper and hacker and general overall purpose knife. And they also, of course, were used to great extent as weapons and self-defense weapons. So, you know, we're going to talk about the characteristics of the Kukri in a minute. I just want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the features of this thing, and then we'll go ahead and get into the review. So, overall, this is actually a really nice Kukri. Now, one of the things I like about what Devil's Edge did here is they got the shape of the Kukri blade down pretty good, because a lot of times what you do see on the market is the blade will go this way, and then there'll be a very sharp downturn to create the forward sloping curved blade. A lot of the historical pieces that I've seen from the 19th century have this more rounded sort of gradual sloping down rather than that sharp curve or sharp turn, I should say. And this seems to capture the original shape of a historic Kukri actually very, very well. And of course, you can see that the blade is what they're advertising as Damascus steel. Of course, it's just forge welded or pattern welded steel. They basically took two types of steel and forge welded them together to give it this really attractive and awesome pattern. Does it really do anything in terms of strength and durability? Probably not. I'm not sure what kind of steel they actually used for this blade. Doesn't say on Cult of Athena's website. It just says it just says Damascus steel. So, you know, forge welded. This staining that you're seeing on the blade is not rust. It's actually I think the dye or the tanning agent that they used for the scabbard, it must not have been dry fully, and it sort of bled onto the blade, and yeah, whatever, it kind of looks like rust, but it's not. It's basically just some staining that I'm sure you could get out if you did some you know, extensive scrubbing with a coarse scoring pad or something like that. I haven't done that. I've basically just cleaned it with WD-40 and oiled it, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It doesn't really bother me that much, but you know, just know that that's not a manufacturing or defect. That's basically from the scabbard here. Now, I keep calling this a scabbard. Sheath. Sheath. Okay, so let's take a look at the handle. Now, the handle or grip of this kukri is actually not really that historic. Traditionally, they have a sort of a taper and they swell out towards the end here. They usually do not have these brass pieces. It's usually just all one piece of wood or a piece of buffalo horn or something like that. This is some type of wood, kind of looks like walnut, and it's constructed in a manner that's more like a modern or traditional knife, I should say. It kind of reminds me of a Bowie knife. It has this brass collar piece and a brass end cap. Now, I don't know if this is a peen. It kind of looks like a peen. I'm not really sure, but I've seen this type of construction on Bowie knives very, very often. And so this particular type of construction, like I said, it's not traditional, and it does have these 3 grooves for extra grip. It does help. I will say, even though the grip is actually not traditional, it is very comfortable and very functional and easy to use. You can see that it does have this tapering portion here, which helps with your edge alignment very, very nicely. So it is actually quite a comfortable grip, although it's not very traditional or particularly historic. Like I said, it's more of a modern take on a kukri. Now, the blade does feature a fuller on each side, which is, you know, probably reduces some of the weight of the blade. Speaking of which, the thing is not really heavy at all. It's quite light and quite nimble as a tool and weapon. And you can see the spine there. It has a stereotypical thick spine. Most of these kukris do. They very rarely feature distal taper, although I have seen some originals that do have it. Those are probably more used for weapons than tools. However, most kukris double as both a tool and a weapon, and this one here has a very nice thick spine all the way through. So overall, for the money, at $60 US, this is actually quite an attractive package, aesthetically speaking. And it did come very, very sharp, and I will show you the edge sharpness. We'll do a little bit of a paper test after I show you the cut testing footage. Now, the blade geometry is actually quite nice. I don't know if you can see it. I'll show you guys. Yeah, right here. You can see that there is sort of a grind that goes all the way down to the edge from here, and then there's a secondary bevel on the end where the edge is. There's very, very common to see secondary bevels on kukri, so that's actually not ahistoric, I should say, or unhistoric, not ahistoric. But it does have this very smooth grind that goes down to the edge, and that actually produces quite a fine edge. And it has tremendous cutting power and chopping power. That's actually one of the things that the kukri is known for. It's known for chopping, it's known for hacking, but it's also quite sharp, and these can deliver devastating blows if you're in a close quarters combat situation. And they're also effective as a tool, as I've already mentioned multiple times, and you'll see I do some wood chopping, and you can see the effectiveness of this smaller kukri. Now, I do say smaller because this is more of what they would call a village kukri, something that you would have on you to be used, you know, around the village, or sort of an everyday. The military ones that I've seen, and I do have an original of an example of an original military kukri that I will show you guys at the end of the video, and that we can do a little bit of a comparison with an original 19th century example to this modern recreation. Yeah, so without further ado, let's take a look at the test cutting footage, and then we'll come back, we'll wrap it up. I'll give you a little bit more of my opinion of this thing and let you know if I think it's worth your money. All right, let's take a look. Really nice cut. So not long enough to go all the way through. Simply not a long enough blade, but two really good cuts. Very nice. Sinking in real good. Try to show you guys here. Look at that. This is a big piece of oak. Okay, there we go. Oh, show you guys this branch. That was a thick branch. Okay guys, so we're back inside from the cut testing, and so how did this thing actually perform? I actually think it performed quite well. The durability of this blade is quite nice. I'm not sure what they actually used for steel to create this pattern welded blade. However, whatever materials they chose to use, it's actually quite durable. The blade has no damage whatsoever, save a tiny little nick. I'm not sure if you guys can see it. It's right here. It's a tiny little nick in the blade. I'm not sure how that actually happened because there's no other nicks in the blade whatsoever. And the blade is actually quite sharp after all of that testing. And I'll show you guys right now. This thing is still really sharp. The edge retention on it is quite nice. And this is the portion of the blade that took, I guess, the most abuse. And, you know, as you can see, it's cutting quite nicely still after all that wood chopping. The plastic bottles I don't think actually make too much, shouldn't have too much of an effect on the edge retention, but the wood definitely. And as you guys can see, it stood up to it quite well. There's no bends, there's no warping, and the grip is not cracked at all anywhere. And so it's not a cheap wood, it's actually quite durable. And overall, the overall durability of this Kukri is quite good. Now the handling, it's extremely nimble. It's not very large, and it's not very heavy. So of course, you know, it's going to be nimble when you're wielding it. However, this one is actually quite comfortable. The grip was comfortable, and you know, it's just very easy to use as a weapon and a tool. Now, I told you guys that I had an original example of a traditional Kukri, and here it is. This is a Nepalese Kukri from Nepal. This was purchased from a collection, or I should say a stash in an arsenal in Nepal. And I think it was purchased by Windlass. They bought a ton of these things, and you know, they're selling them on their website and their distributors' websites, Museum Replicas, I believe, and Atlanta Cutlery. So these are original Nepalese Kukris. This one dates probably from the end of the 19th century to the early 20th century. And in comparison to our Devil's Edge friend here, it's actually much larger. But I want you guys to see the influences of an original and what, how it compares to the Devil's Edge Kukri. And as you can see, it's much larger, and it has a forward sloping blade, just like this one, but it's a little bit more drastic. But the shape, or the rounding slope of the spine, is actually quite good compared to the originals. As you can see, there's no sharp downturn in this blade. It's a very nice sloping curve. And the Devil's Edge example does a very good job at, creating that aesthetic. Now, also, let's take a look in compare the grips. So this is what I was talking about. This is a traditional style Kukri grip. It's all one piece of wood, and it has a swell in the center here, and it swells at the end here for extra retention on the grip. Also, it's slightly curved, and it sort of curves along with the blade. Now, this one has, like I said, much more of a modern take on much more of a modern knife take on a Kukri grip. However, it's very, very comfortable, and I still think that it's a good grip. It's just not traditional. Overall, I think this is a fantastic Kukri. I mean, it's less than $100. It's well less than $100, and it's very functional and a very nice piece to look at. I don't think you can go wrong here, so I definitely have to recommend it. Now, there are a lot of other options on the market for Kukris, and there are a lot of companies directly out of Nepal that are producing beautiful Kukris and doing awesome work. Kailash Blades is actually one of those manufacturers that I'm trying to see if I can get a hold of something from them to do some testing on. We'll see. That's something for the future. However, Devil's Edge, this is a nice budget option, and I don't think you guys can go wrong with it. It performed very, very well. And so one last thing, I'll show you guys the sheath that it came with. This sheath is very functional. The leather is not really that cheap, so you would expect it to be cheaper quality than this for this price range, but it's really not. It's basically a sandwiched style leather sheath. It's stitched all along the edge, and it does have these loops for retention, and it also has a belt loop, a nice thick belt loop, so if you wanted to carry this thing, take it out and do some bushcrafting and camping and whatnot, or just carry it around and look cool, it's actually very, very nice, and I do like the color. So overall package, one more thing, the Kukri itself fits the sheath quite nicely. Some people want to know about the fit. It fits beautifully, and it has no problems in retention and whatnot. So yeah, overall, very good package, guys. I think I can highly recommend this thing. If you're interested in a low budget or sort of a budget range Kukri, and you don't want to get an antique, or you don't want to spend upwards of $100 to get something that's really, really nice from Nepal, this is a fantastic option. So I hope you guys enjoyed my review. I hope this was helpful if you're interested in this kind of stuff. If it was, please leave a like. Please subscribe down below. You can also leave some comments. I have a bunch of other stuff from Devil's Edge that I'm going to be showing on the channel. I still think Devil's Edge is a nice option for the budget range of historical arms and edged weapons. So I got a bunch of stuff from them that we're going to take a look at in future reviews. However, till then, stay safe, guys, and I hope you have a very good day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.